My brother's wife, let's call her Karen, looked me dead in the eye, and with a sneer that made my blood run cold, she said, "Oh, you should definitely give it to us. You're single and don't have any real responsibilities anyway." She was talking about my PlayStation 5, a beautiful white monolith of a gaming console that had been collecting dust on a shelf. But she wasn't really talking about the console, was she? She was talking about my life. About my value. About how, in her eyes, my existence was less than hers because I wasn't married with kids. And in that moment something shifted inside me. I knew that the perfect revenge wasn't about the PlayStation. It was about proving her wrong in a way she'd never see coming. If you've ever felt the sting of someone invalidating your worth, and dreamed of serving up a slice of sweet, satisfying justice, then you're in the right place. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and get ready for a story about how a single, casually dismissive comment led to the most satisfying payback I've ever delivered. My family gatherings are usually a noisy, chaotic, but mostly loving affair. Picture it. A Sunday afternoon barbecue, the smell of charcoal and grilled burgers in the air, the sound of kids laughing and running around the yard. It was one of those perfect late summer days. My brother Mike and his two kids, 10-year-old Ethan and 8-year-old Maya, were there. My brother and I have always been close, the kind of bond forged through shared secrets and late-night gaming sessions on our first consoles. He's a good guy, but he's been struggling. Financial stress is a heavy weight, and I could see it in the tired lines around his eyes. That day, the conversation turned to hobbies. I was explaining to my aunt how I haven't had much time for video games lately. I've been buried in a new project for my job, and honestly, the passion just wasn't there anymore. That's when I mentioned my PlayStation 5. It was a pandemic impulse buy. A beautiful machine I had barely used. I joked about it just gathering dust. I looked at Mike, who was sitting across from me, and a thought just popped into my head. I know how much his kids, Ethan and Maya, love games. They'd light up at the sight of a PS5. I figured it would be a nice surprise for them, a little bit of joy in their tough year. So I leaned forward and said casually, "You know, my PS5 is just collecting dust. I was thinking of giving it to you guys since you'd actually use it." Before Mike could even get a word out, before he could even form a smile of surprise, Karen, his wife, cut in. "Now let's talk about Karen. She and I have never been close. We're civil, but that's about it. She's the kind of person who constantly compares herself to others, always needing to be one step ahead. And in her world, success is measured in a very specific way. Marriage, a house and kids. Anything else is just less." So when I offered the PS5 to Mike, she let out a loud, theatrical laugh. It wasn't a laugh of joy or surprise. It was a laugh of dismissive superiority. And then she delivered the line that hit me like a physical blow. "Oh yeah, you should definitely give it to us. You're single and don't have any real responsibilities anyway." The air went silent. The other conversations died down. My stomach twisted into a knot. My body felt suddenly heavy, and my hands clenched into fists in my lap. Technically, she wasn't wrong. I don't have kids. My bills are a fraction of what a family's are. I'm comfortable financially. But the way she said it, the contempt dripping from every word, felt like a slap. It wasn't about the facts. It was about the intention. She was saying my life, my choices, my career, my friends, all of it, was meaningless because I didn't fit her narrow definition of a real adult. It wasn't just an insult. It was a total invalidation of my entire existence. Mike's face fell. He looked utterly mortified, and he opened his mouth to say something, but I just held up my hand, a fake smile plastered on my face. "Yeah, you know what? That's a great point," I said, my voice unnaturally cheerful. "Maybe I will." I spent the rest of the barbecue feeling like a ghost. I tried to talk to my cousins, but all I could hear was Karen's laugh echoing in my head. I felt a surge of emotions. Betrayal that my own family would have someone like that in it. Shame that her words had made me feel so small, and a burning white-hot anger that I had to contain. When I was leaving, Mike pulled me aside. His face was a mask of shame. "I'm so sorry," he whispered, his voice low. I don't know what to say. She was out of line. I'm so grateful for the PS5, man. The kids are going to freak out. I squeezed his shoulder. Hey, don't even worry about it. It's no big deal. But it was a big deal. I still planned to give the PS5 to Mike and his kids. They deserved it. But I also knew I couldn't just let Karen's comment slide. Letting her get away with it would mean her thinking she was right. It would mean she'd feel empowered to do it again. I got into my car, the silence deafening after the family chaos. I sat there for a minute, a plan beginning to form in my mind. It wasn't about a PS5 anymore. It was about something bigger. It was about proving that a life without a spouse or kids isn't a life without value. Just a different kind of life. The revenge. Narrator's voice becomes more excited and conspiratorial. So I got to work. My family doesn't know what I do for a living. I mean, they know I work in tech, but I keep the details pretty vague. Just easier that way. They think I'm a programmer, which I am, but a few years ago I co-founded a small tech startup. We've been quietly growing, flying under the radar, and we just landed a massive deal. The kind of deal that changes a small company into a major player overnight. The kind of deal that changes your life. The day after the barbecue, I called a friend. We're both single, child-free, and we've been on the receiving end of a lot of comments like Karen's. I told him what happened, and his anger matched mine. We should do something about this, he said. And that's when I told him about the idea that had been brewing in my mind. First, I went to a high-end electronics store. I didn't buy just a PS5. I bought two. A brand new, sparkling white PS5 for Mike and his kids. And then I bought a second one, a special edition, even more expensive one, for myself. But I also bought a huge, top-of-the-line flat-screen TV, a surround sound system, a new gaming chair, and a bunch of new games. I went all in. The total cost was more than what some people spend on their first car, and I felt a little giddy doing it. I had it all delivered to my place in a big, nondescript truck. My friend came over to help me set everything up in my living room. We meticulously arranged the cables, the screens, the lights. My living room was transformed into a gamer's paradise. But this wasn't about me just having a new setup. It was about the perfect reveal. The next day, I called my brother and told him I had a surprise for the kids. I told him to bring them over on Saturday. I knew Karen would come too. She's the nosy type. Saturday arrived, and my heart was pounding with a mix of anticipation and nerves. My brother, his kids, and Karen walked in, and I could already feel the tension in the air. Karen immediately started looking around, and I could see her sizing up my apartment, mentally cataloging everything. So, where is it? Maya asked, her eyes wide with excitement. I just smiled and led them into my living room. The second the kids saw the new PS5 on the stand, their faces lit up. Thin gasp. Maya screamed and ran to hug me. Mike looked from the new console to me, his jaw dropping. Dude, you didn't have to do all this. Thank you so much. And then Karen spoke up. She let out that same dismissive laugh, a little louder this time. Wow, you really went all out. But I guess it makes sense, right? You've got all this time and money to spend on video games, since you have no one else to buy for. Just a waste. She said the last part under her breath, but I heard it. Everyone did. Mike's face turned red, and the kids looked confused. I turned to Karen, and I smiled a slow, sweet, deliberate smile. You're right, Karen. I guess I do have a lot of disposable income and free time. But what you don't know is where that money comes from. I walked over to the TV stand and picked up my laptop. I held it up so they could all see the screen. I had a single slide up, one of the first slides from our business presentation. On it were 3 words in bold. Acquired by Microsoft. And beneath it, in smaller text, the number. My stake in the deal was in the high 7 figures. The room went silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Mike's eyes widened, and he stared at the screen, a look of pure astonishment on his face. The kids just looked at their dad, confused. But Karen's face went white. The blood drained from her face so fast I thought she was going to faint. The dismissive smirk she had been wearing just minutes earlier was gone, replaced by a look of sheer, unadulterated horror. You sold your company," she stammered, her voice a whisper. "Yep," I said, putting the laptop down. "The company my life revolves around. The one that's given me the freedom to live life my way. No mortgage. No kids' college funds to worry about. Just freedom. So you're right. I guess I do have a lot of free time and disposable income. But it's not because my life is meaningless. It's because I built my own kind of meaning." I looked at Mike, who just stood there, still in shock. "And Mike, the kids aren't getting that PS5, I said. "They're getting this one." I pointed to the brand new console on my own entertainment center. "The one you're looking at now." I pulled the second PS5 from behind a curtain. "This one's for them. A gift from their single, child-free, and apparently very irresponsible uncle." Mike started to tear up. The kids cheered. And Karen, she said nothing. She couldn't. Her dismissive, condescending worldview had just been shattered, right in front of her. She was a woman who defined success by a narrow set of criteria, and I had just proven in the most spectacular way that her criteria were utterly meaningless. In the end, this wasn't really about a PS5 or even about money. It was about validation. It was about showing that a life lived on your own terms without the traditional milestones is just as valid, just as rich, and sometimes just as successful. It was about proving that you don't need a marriage certificate or a child's hand in yours to have a life of value. All you need is a sense of self-worth that no one, especially not a smug sister-in-law, can take from you. And if this story gave you the shivers, hit that like button. What's the most satisfying revenge you've ever witnessed or pulled off? Share your story in the comments below. And, of course, subscribe for more incredible stories of karma, validation, and sweet, sweet revenge.